The rain began early during the week before September 27, 2024, and continued for several days. On Friday, Helene arrived, with tropical storm force winds and torrential rains. The result was massive flooding, downed trees, and mudslides, destroying homes, businesses, and acres of crops. What began as a devastating blow for our community quickly turned into stories of recovery, resulting from generosity, grit, and hope. Here are a few of those stories.
So here at Ashe CrossFit and Elevation Health, we were flooded with about 18 inches of water. That's just... And we couldn't get a car into the parking lot because of how much water was there. So we had to park up the street, walk around the back side of the building, and when we opened the door to the gym was when we saw how devastating it was. Equipment and things were floating in the water, and so at that moment you start wondering what next. And you open the doors, and you let the water flow out. And then you start getting a plan. So at the end of that first day, we were looking at 5 years of our lives, of our hard work, that we didn't know if we would recover from. But we knew that we had to do something, and we had to start immediately. So we sent out a message on social media, shared pictures, what we were experiencing, and we said we were going to be here tomorrow to start pulling things out and start figuring out how to clean up. So the next day, we came here not knowing what to expect, but knowing it was going to be a full day of work. And people started showing up, willing to help. We pulled everything out of the gym, out here into the parking lot. People showed up with pressure washers, kids, parents, families, and we started the process of rebuilding. And we spent all day here. There were probably almost 100 community members that showed up to help us, and I don't think I've cried that much in any single day. But what really happened was every time you turned around, someone else was there to say, how can I help? So fast forward 5 months. It's the beginning of March. Here we are, still not put back together fully, but we have a plan and we have hope. And with SBA funding and Small Business Initiative 2 grants, money from chambers of commerce, and then just private donations, we're going to get back to being whole. And just like our community, we're never going to forget what happened, but we're going to come back stronger because we're all in this together. And it wouldn't have been possible without this incredible support from everybody around us, because we can't do it by ourselves. We lift each other up in all those times of trouble.
I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
I immediately got up and changed clothes and got in the car, and my whole family, we all came down to the church. And when we got here, ironically, we couldn't get in the door because the power was out and our electronic entry from the side entrance, we couldn't get in. Somebody finally had a key. We were able to get in, and I walked in at the side entrance and came into this hallway right here, and there was water all in the floor. And it wasn't just here. It covered the entire first floor. Every room in the first floor had water, standing water. And there was a fire, an alarm going off. I mean, it was really overwhelming. It was traumatizing. It felt like, it just felt like one of those, it felt like a movie. I felt like I was in a movie. And I really felt helpless. All of us really just kind of felt helpless at the time. We decided to come back the next morning and see what we could do. So we did. Next morning we met at the church and we brought shop vacs and we tried to get up the water, but honestly, after a few hours, there was just no way we were going to get up all the water. So we reconvened outside and decided that we were going to we were going to have to rip up all the carpet. That was going to be the best solution so that it could dry out. So once we ripped all the carpet up, we realized that the tile underneath might potentially be asbestos tile. So had all that tested, and it was determined that it was. So we had to have a group come in and remove all of that. So we've been through that process, and so it's had a huge impact on our church because we haven't been able to utilize our first floor ever since that fateful day in September. And we've had to really get creative with our other spaces at utilizing and sharing other spaces. So it's been a learning experience. But we've also, as devastating as it was, we've also seen a lot of opportunities. All these spaces are going to get remade, rebuilt. And we're going to, in many ways, be working with a blank slate, which is kind of an exciting thing for our church, that we can re-envision what these spaces look like and rebuild them in a way that we feel like are going to meet the needs of the ministries of our church for the 21st century. And so there are these turning points along the way where as much despair and helplessness as you felt at times, there's these points along the way where there was a sense of hope.
'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved.
So when I first came down to the shop, everything looked normal from the front. And you go to the back and the warehouse was crumpled. Everything in the warehouse was thrown into the creek. But it was like seeing that destruction, it was like, okay, let's go see what else, you know? Because it had already happened, it was done. There was nothing to rescue at that moment. And then we went to go check out the rest of the town, which was basically going to the Mercantile, and you couldn't go any further past that because the river was up that high. So then it was come back and let's see what we can salvage of our own. So it was us and the preacher and her husband and locals and kids. We were getting into our boats and going into the creek floodwater and pulling out paddles, pulling out power tools, pulling out bicycles, pulling out anything we could find. There were so many highs and lows. There were so many things to be thankful for, and there were so many things to be like, oh man, I can't believe that. But all in all, our animals survived down here. None of our personal friends or family were killed in the event. I know others died, but like, you're thankful for your immediate circle, and then you're sad for, you know, your outer circle that you're hearing, you know. So it was just a range of emotions. Like, it was the best movie you could go to because you hit every single emotion you could get. And I've seen the river flood several times. It floods 2 or 3 times a summer every year, but only 3 to 6 feet, not 17 to 20 feet. Nothing really got damaged inside the building. It was just our warehouse behind where the creek had come up. And the creek came all the way up into the front yard here, probably 6 feet in front of the Pig's Purple House there. The first day we got all of our stuff out, so we're good. So we shifted everything to help others because just the calls were coming in. Please help me, you know? And I'm on the fire department, and then with River Girl here, we're right here in the hub of Todd. So it was like, do you know somebody that could
could come help me do this? Could you find somebody to come help me do that? My road's washed out. I can't, my mother needs her medications and we can't, her mailbox is gone and it comes in the mail. So there's no mailbox for the postman to bring her medications. So it was just like, whew. So then we came on with a command central to come in and help us. And 5 or 6 of our friends came in and helped us field those phone calls, helped us put point A to point B. Because not only were folks calling for help, people were calling with resources. I have a track co. I have a skid steer. I have people that have donated 20 cases of water. Where can I take it? So it was just us being that middleman to put point A to point B and make it happen.
Precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed.
When the hurricane hit, as soon as I made it to Lansing, I started volunteering, helping mud out the businesses. It was like a war zone. There was mud everywhere. There were windows broken.
It looked like somebody had dropped a town in the middle of a big river because the water was 8 feet or better down the main streets. Most of the buildings had anywhere from 5 to 8 feet of water in them. And we were on a high point on the south end of town. It's hard to explain what it looked like when your town is just basically totally flooded. We watched as people's possessions came washing through town. We watched as inventory from businesses washed out of the businesses and out into the water. Basically, what do? You know, you can't just, you can cry and you can feel bad or you can feel angry, but tomorrow you got to do something. And I think resilience and resolve are 2 words I hear often. Now, I don't think that's something you know whether you have it or not until you have to. And I have seen tremendous resolve and resilience in this community because we have to, and we're going to.
The response to the hurricane was amazing. The fire department, they were working, 15, 16 hours a day, probably more, every day since the flood happened. But not only that, a few of their workers or their firefighters were in the flood working. They were pulling propane tanks out of the water. There was one person inside the fire department as it was flooding. But they continued pushing through and bringing in resources that were needed through emergency management as well.
When I saw the people come together, shoulder to shoulder, cleaning out these buildings, they didn't ask who you were, they didn't ask what your political affiliation, what your church, were you rich, poor, or somewhere in the middle. They just said, what can I do? And all these volunteers from here locally, from places far away, came in, pitched in with their energy and worked to make things better for people here. And that renewed my confidence in mankind.
Politics, beliefs, disagreements, everything was put to the side because people showed up to take care of one another, to take care of this place that they love. So I am so extremely proud of Lansing, of Ashe County. It's an honor to be here and to be amongst so many people that care.
I tell people that if you don't think the town of Lansing is going to come back strong, it's like my wife always says, just hide and watch, because it's already happening and it will continue to happen.
While these stories are inspiring and reason for celebration, there is still work to do, and we still need help. As we work to recover, the ways that you can support these efforts include visit, come to Ashe County. Events are happening and we are open. Volunteer. There are still so many ways that you can help. And advocate. Tell others so that we are not forgotten. For the many who have been so generous, thank you from most grateful hearts. And for those who are still working tirelessly to completely recover, you inspire us all.